What is up guys, Dzeeff here. Today I want to share with you what is my current favorite deck to play in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. So this was a suggestion from someone in chat. It was going to be part of the Casual Friday series, but it turned out to be so powerful that I didn't feel it was fair to put it in that series. So today we are talking about the Giant Ballpark OTK deck. I'm someone that has played Beetroopers a lot in the TCG, and this deck's really fun because it gets to use a lot of those same cards just in slightly different ways. Beetroopers hopefully will eventually make their way to Master Duel, but for now this is a really fun way to play a bunch of wacky insect monsters like Killer Needle and Doomdozer, and you can get some pretty crazy wins. Now I will say, unfortunately, I was not able to get to Plat 1 with this deck. I really wanted to. There were actually two separate occasions where I was one win away from getting to Plat 1, but this deck is not very good against the Banquet deck. Now the current build is actually teched out a little bit against that deck because we do main deck Twin Twisters and Red Reboot, and at the end of my play session, once I started playing against a lot of Banquet decks, I did cut down to a 13 card extra deck. Before we go into the deck profile, because that can be a bit overwhelming if you don't know how this deck works, I did want to share with you guys the two main ways that this deck is trying to win. It is a going second OTK deck. So the first way that this deck wins is by using Giant Ballpark, the deck's namesake of course. So Giant Ballpark is a very good field spell that has a pretty tricky effect that a lot of opponents are not prepared for. It says, during damage calculation, if a player would take battle damage from that battle, you can make neither player take battle damage, and then you can mill one level 4 or lower insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now if you milled a normal monster, you can then special summon as many copies of that card from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which puts a lot of damage on the board. The main normal monster that you send with this effect is going to be Shiny Black Sea Squatter, a 2000 attack level 4 vanilla. Alternatively, you can send Gokipole to the graveyard, which obviously won't get you the special summon effect of the field spell, but what's important here is that the Gokipole will activate and resolve all in the damage calc, right? So your opponent really can't respond with that many cards. Gokipole can add a bunch of monsters to your hand, but one thing that's pretty cool is that you can add Killer Needle, a level 4 1200 attack vanilla insect monster, and because Gokipole allows you to special summon that monster, you can special summon that Killer Needle in damage calc, and then you can pop a monster on the field with 1200 or more attack points. Killer Needle is not a mean card in this deck, as funny as it sounds, because Gokipole pops a monster with more attack points than whenever you add to your hand and special summon if it's a normal monster. So Killer Needle is a great option because among the other level 4 insect monsters that are vanillas, it has the lowest amount of attack points. Now it is tied with a few other cards, but Killer Needle is a wind monster, so it kind of beats out the other insect monsters because you could theoretically use it if your opponent has the wind barrier statue on the board. Now Killer Needle unfortunately can't pop that card because Killer Needle has 1200 attack and the barrier statue has 1000 attack, but you could pop another monster and then attack over the barrier statue, which is a thing I did multiple times while playing this deck. The other way to win is by using Parallel Exceed. So this card can special summon itself when you link summon a monster. You have to special summon it to a zone that that monster points to, and then you can special summon another Parallel Exceed from your deck. You can then use the two Parallel Exceeds to make Update Jammer, and then use the Update Jammer to make Access Code Talker, which allows the Access Code Talker to attack twice, and it'll be at 4300 attack points. Now this is super easy to do because you have tons of normal summonable monsters that can set up one link summon for the Parallel Exceed. Gokipole and Resonance Insect can make All Mirage, which you can then special summon the Parallel Exceed into the zone that it points to, or you could summon any normal monster and make Link Spider and then special summon the Parallel Exceed there. Here is the deck list. So there are lots of wacky cards in here, but I hope that you guys kind of understand the goal of this deck now that I've talked about the two main ways that you want to win. So we have one copy of Killer Needle. This is really not the card that you are trying to summon off of the Ballpark. You are trying to summon it off of the Gokipole, so one copy is all you need. You can shuffle it back with the Inzektor Link monster. We have 3 copies of Shiny Black Sea Squatter, great card, the main OTK enabler with the Ballpark. 2 copies of Battle Wasp, Pin the Bullseye. Not as good in this deck as it is in Beetroopers because we do not have the Armor Horn, but it is still a very good card and it does help set up some OTKs. Next up, we have 3 copies of Maxi, obviously a staple card in Master Duel, but specifically in this deck, you can search it pretty much whenever you want to. I'll talk about that more in a few moments here. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and then 3 copies of Gokipole. Some people play 2 copies of this card, but it is like one of the best normal summons in the entire deck. It is a hard once per turn, and if your combo gets going, you don't really need to have it in your opening hand, but I really do like it as just an additional starter. 3 copies of Resonance Insect. So this card is kind of like Cyber Angel Ben 10 for insects. I will mention though, in this deck compared to Beetroopers, it is nowhere near as broken as it could be. In Beetroopers, this card is able to be triggered triggered like 2, 3, 4 times in one turn, and all the searches are really good. In this deck though, unless you're grabbing a kaiju, the only other target is Doomdozer, which is a very good card, but you don't really need to search it multiple times in one turn. So Resonance Insect, while a very good card in this deck, obviously it's not as broken as it is in the TCG and Beetroopers. Then we have 2 copies of Retaliating Sea. So this is the way that you are searching Max C. When this card goes to the graveyard, you can add 1 Earth Insect type monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So that grabs Max C and Goki Pole and Resonance Insect, but the important part here is that you can equip this card to an insect monster right from your deck by using the Inzektor Link monster. So if you go first, you can summon this card, equip the Retaliating Sea to another insect monster, and then go into the butterfly here, or the moth, I don't know which one it is, and then you can search Max C turn 1 that way. This card is also just a really great hand trap right now. If your opponent activates a spell card that has an effect that would special summon a monster, you can special summon the Retaliating Sea right from your hand, and then it's a Macro Cosmos, which is very good. So if your opponent is playing Dragon Maid, you can do this against a fusion spell. If they're playing Invoked, you can do it against a fusion spell. Prank Kids, this card is pretty good against, but it also works against random stuff like E-Telly, for example. The reason I'm not playing 3 of this card is because it's not that good against the other matchups. Like if you can't special summon it on the opponent's turn as a hand trap, it's not really that good because it's a 1400 attack monster, which unfortunately means you can't make All Mirage with it. So compared to Goki Pole and Resonance, which are like 1 card starters because you can go into All Mirage, this one, if it's in your opening hand, you need an extender to actually start your plays. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Doomdozer. So this is the main target for the Resonance Insect, but also it triggers the other effect of Resonance Insect. When this card is banished, once again, not a once per turn here, you can mill any insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. So you usually will send the Goki Pole and then add the Killer Needle, which you'll then special summon to pop an opponent's monster with 1200 or more attack points. It's really a cool deck. I mean, I've played a lot of these cards in Beetroopers, but even without the Beetrooper cards, this deck is still pretty powerful. We also have 1 copy of each of the insect kaijus because you can search those with the Resonance Insect. 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. If you draw this card, you probably win the game. 1 copy of Nibiru for Crossout. 1 copy of Foolish. This usually sends the Goki Pole, which then can turn it into either a card that could add Resonance or Retaliating Sea if you want to, or you can go for that Killer Needle to pop an opponent's monster. We also have 1 Gold Sark. This is basically the same thing as the Foolish. You simply banish the Resonance, which can then mill the Goki Pole. So these cards are kind of like the same card in this deck. 1 copy of Terraforming for the field spell, of course. 3 copies of Giant Ballpark. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but just like in the case of Parallel Exceed, if you open the Ballpark, you probably can win that game. Like this deck's win rate when you draw either Ballpark or Parallel Exceed is absolutely ridiculous. Next up, we have 2 copies of Twin Twisters, which goes along with the 1 copy of Red Reboot. These are very good cards, and you could play them in this deck in pretty much any format, but I will mention these are specifically in here for the Banquet deck. They are very good counters to that strategy. Finally, we have 2 copies of Called by the Grave and 2 copies of Crossout. This looks a little bit weird in a going second deck, but we really want to stop that Max C or the Ash Blossom on the Parallel Exceed because those cards are just so good against this card. I also was playing Forbidden Droplet in this deck at one point instead of the Nibiru and the 2 Crossouts. It's kind of weird because Droplet is a very good card on paper in this deck. You have tons of effects that you can trigger by sending the monster cards with the Droplet, but Droplet in this game can kind of be hit or miss. Yeah, if you play against big combo decks, it's good, but this deck already has like searchable kaiju monsters, so Droplet really was kind of underperforming for me. It definitely is a card that you should consider playing, and I did play it for a while, but right now I think that the Crossout Nibiru engine here is kind of good. It's not really an engine, but I think that these 3 cards are fine replacements for the Forbidden Droplet. Next up for the extra deck, we have the 1 Flex Spot. I believe that all of these other cards are pretty mandatory, but the 15th card is like basically whatever you want. So right now I have Tornado Dragon, but I've played Dweller, I've played Gagaga Cowboy, I've played Heartland Draco, I've played Zeus. There's not really like a truly perfect 15th card for this extra deck. Then we have 1 copy of Baguska. Very important card for this deck. It is like your main turn 1 play if you do have to go first. Next up, we have a Traptrix rank 4, not Rafflesia though. So this one can revive an insect monster from your graveyard, so you can revive the Resonance Insect, which is really good. Unfortunately, it can only get exactly level 4 monsters, so you can't get the Goki Pole back, but overall it is still a very good card for this deck. Then we have Link Spider for the vanillas. We have All Mirage, of course. 2 copies of the Inzektor Link monster. Next up, we have 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix, and we have that 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, 1 copy of this Shinobi Insect. The main thing that's important with it is that it's an insect monster that you can make with any 2 monsters with different names. You can pretty much go into this at any point in the duel, which is really nice. Then we have the Papillon, not as good in this deck as it is in Beetroopers. Sorry, I keep bringing up Beetroopers. I just really want to play that deck in this game, but you can revive the Retaliating Sea. It won't get the Macrocosmos effect, but it will still float into the Max Sea, which could be pretty good. And then we have our 2 Link 4 monsters, Appaloosa, which you rarely make, and Axis Kotaker, which you make pretty much every single game. I will mention here that there are a lot of ultra rares in this deck, so it might not look very budget friendly, but most of the ultra rares in this deck are either staple cards or unnecessary. You can build a pretty budget friendly version of Giant Ballpark. I'm probably going to try and make a version for the common and rare tournament that's coming up tomorrow actually, but overall I think this deck is super fun. It's great at OTKing. It's not the best deck against back row strategies, but we do have the Twin Twisters and the Red Reboot, but I think at the end of the day this is a really cool deck in Master Duel, and I wish more people tried it out because it is a lot of fun. Not the easiest deck to pick up, especially if you are used to playing Beetroopers like I was, because a lot of the cards are used in different ways in this deck than they were used in the Beetrooper deck, but it is still a really fun insect deck that has tons of OTK potential, and I think you guys will see that in the gameplay in today's video. Going second, we like to see that. Like, and Prank Kids are pretty good in this game. People play that deck. Oh, I can Retaliate and see the Fusion spell card. That's pretty good. It definitely is weird playing with these cards that I'm so used to playing in Beetroopers, but without the Armor Horn. Makes me really appreciate like how good Armor Horn is. Okay, it's not that hard to figure out. It's Chamber Dragon Maid. Come on. Mill your pathetic card. Oh, I guess that's optional. Okay. So I probably won't mill. I mean, this is pretty good. So, like, I'm just saying, chose not to do that. Wow, that's pretty good. Wow. Okay, so let's terraforming. And then I guess I'm supposed to special this guy. Never forget the 200, don't worry. Okay, so we can go for this to point to that, or Phoenix to pop the back row. There's so many options. I feel like I take out the back row, right? We'll chain block that Ash. Okay, sure. Don't play cards in that column. Do not do it. Do I have like a sticky note or some shit? No, I don't. I just won't do it. That's not the column that I struggle with. Okay, what am I doing? Oh my god, make a unicorn. Oh shit, okay, nice. Yes. Yes. It's time. Shuffle back the one in defense, probably. Wait, this deck is so cool. Are we less tilted today than yesterday? Honestly, yeah, this deck is like the most fun I've had in this game in a little while. Activate Goki Pole. Oh, it's too tiny. I can't pop it. What a shame. No, no, don't bait me into doing that. Summon Doomdozer. I thought I had a second one of these. I thought I had a second one. No, don't scoop. I want to OTK you. Summon Doomdozer, activate Ballpark game. Sure. Oh, yeah, I should add Exectipede. I like that card. Like little baby Doomdozer. Oh, okay. Don't stop it. Just let me win. No, they always have the Cold Weather Grave. Oh, that's not called by. What did he tribute? Zeta. Okay, we do have Ash still. Maybe I should have Ashed and then he would have... I mean, I don't know. I didn't know he was playing Drytron when he foolish, so... What does he do if I Ash this? He'll have Diviner, I guess, but... By doing this, he has to have another Drytron in hand, right? Oh my god. That was his last card in hand, huh? Welp, you're dead, bro. You're dead, dude. Oh, okay, that draw kind of sucks, but it's fine. Wait, do they play 3 Herald? Maybe they do that. Maybe we can still OTK through that if they search a second Herald here. Okay. Oh, they do play 3 Herald? Okay. So we can... Interesting. Why Ben 10 is good? It's a non-once per turn effect, so you can trigger it like 3 times, or 4 times, or 5 times. That's why it's so good. Oh, he's letting that go through. Damn, I was like, little does he know, the Paralog Seed's way more important. Actually, this is kind of a funny matchup because my deck also has a Ben 10 type card. Resonance Insect is also like Ben 10, it's not a once per turn, and that's why this deck's good. I'm pretty sure I just lose now. He has Meteotis Drytron in hand. Oh, I actually probably could still win then. Oh my god, Maxie's an insect. We probably have game. Maxie's an insect. Wow, dude. This deck's crazy. I totally forgot, because like I was just thinking like, oh, I only have the Resonance Insect. You know, I'm not used to playing with Maxie. Damn, dude. Okay. Do you think he plays Purple Dante? I'm gonna scoop if he does. Can you imagine playing Purple Dante in 2022 in Drytron? Okay, so you're dead, I guess, right? Why is this deck so good? Like, this is amazing. Like, we actually have... I think we've lost, like, 1 time. This is unironically, like, one of the best decks I've played in this game. That might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's definitely very good. It just OTKs out of nowhere. Like, holy shit. Ever consider doing viewer rooms? Yeah, every time I get to Plat 1, I, like, discuss it, but... Oh, please cartomize. Damn it. Okay, well... This hand is very good, but we have to, like, play through 4 back row, which is not ideal. Luckily, this deck does not lose to skill drain nearly as hard as you might think it does, because you don't have a ton of effects to activate on the board, but playing through back row is not ideal. It seems like a lot of people are playing back row decks right now, so maybe I... Okay, on the plus side, our opponent doesn't know what they're doing, so maybe we can win through 4 back row. I don't know, though, if he has another strike. Yeah, the Master Saga episode 6 was crazy. Such a great episode. I remember filming that and telling stream, like, this is going to be the best episode we've uploaded, and it definitely is. If there's one episode of Master Saga that you should watch, if anyone in chat like hasn't watched that series, because maybe they haven't quite felt like getting into it, episode 6. You don't have to catch up and we can jump in whenever. Episode 6 is like definitely the one to watch for sure. Okay, so if he strikes this, I can go Doomdozer. So I guess we just go all out. This is game if he has something else. If he has Sanguine plus the Hop, I think this is still game. I wish we just had like a good card to summon the Resonance besides the Goki pull. That's kind of always been this deck's problem. You'd send like Sting to revive on the opponent's turn, but... Oh, you're dead. Probably. Unless he has an out for the ballpark. Dude, this guy's doing my work for me. I think the funniest thing about this deck is that, like, you just play the wackiest fucking cards. I really do love Beetroopers, and I love this deck as well. I think it's just really funny. Okay. Still dead. Oh my gosh. I love this deck so much. It just wins out of nowhere. Like, no one knows what Ballpark does. I mean, he was always losing, because even if he, like, waited for the Killer Needle, and then blocked one of these, he'd still lose. Is the Killer Bee a meme? No, 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 this card's legitimately in here. It's very useful. Well. Maybe you shouldn't have paid all your life points with your Solemn cards against cards that, like, didn't have relevant effects.